We'll reconvene from closed session, and Mark, if you give us a report out of closed session.
Yeah, we dealt with 3 items. We had conversations about some personnel. We entertained 2 Willie Brown requests, and what was my third one? The student issue.
Can you tell me the Willie Brown's text?
Passed unanimously.
And do we have a flag in here? Ah, there it is. Stand for the flag salute, please. Care to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appears we have a Sanhedrin presentation. Dr. Richley.
I wasn't trying to run out on you. Alex, before we get started, were you going to do the agenda approval?
We did that earlier
Before we went to closed session?
before we went to closed session.
Oh, before you did? Okay. Because I was just going to request that public comments for items not on the agenda be moved to an earlier time so that people who might have comments don't have to wait till the end of the night.
Okay, we can certainly consider that. Dr. Richley.
Hello, my name is Jeff Richley, and I am the director of Sanhedrin High School. It's Sanhedrin Alternative High School now, and we have a little presentation today. First off, we have a bunch of pictures going on as you sit through the meeting, and you want to take a look of our various student of the month throughout the year. Brianna, and then our art class, and Shira. And our art class is in the afternoon, and students draw a lot of art. It's getting very popular. There's a lot of pictures of art in Mrs. Richley's class. We've started adult ed. We have, Mr. Hort, about 24 students.
Around 24 students.
Around 24. We have 12 to 14 students come each night, on Tuesday night and Thursday night. And that's from 4 to 7 on Tuesdays and 5 to 8 on Thursdays. And we've just been trying to make Sanhedrin change. It's how people perceive it in the community, and we've been putting in press releases, the paper, sharing what's going on. During the Olympics, we have Olympic month here, where the schools decorate like the Olympics, get the kids excited about the Olympics. And Mrs. Richley is here to, and that's a bell out Mrs. Richley's here to give a presentation about the different things going on in her class, and we also hopefully will have a graduation.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Richley, and I teach multiple subjects here, including dual enrollment college class for career planning, where students explore their career plans and create a pathway for career of their choice. And this year was our first year offering poetry workshop. A lot of our students have been published in the county anthology, and last year, actually, one of our student poems made to the cover of the county poetry book. So we're going to have a couple students read aloud and share their poems. Also, we have a Friday mentorship program where volunteers from community come and volunteer their time, and they coach students on life skills, health, coping with stress, improv, public speaking, and so on. So I'm hoping one of the students could share about that. We have our program going, and we're really focusing this year on career planning and career technical education, helping students figure out what they want to do when they graduate. We are partnering with Mendocino College, Santa Rosa, JC. I just made a new connection with Culinary Institute of America in San Helena. Hopefully we can look into culinary arts program as well.
I'm Olivia Tovar. I'm a junior, and in the career class, I've chosen to be a film director. So that's the career I'm going towards. Okay? Okay. And here's some poetry that I wrote. I come from a warm glow, filled room and toasted food. Children run and adults make fun, where tunes weave through the thoughts you never forget. But the smoke eventually fades, and what was once built falls. Where I come from was forgotten. The room becomes a void where I was left behind. How are you? I'm fine, thanks. Remember when we used to? Never mind, that part's been erased. Because what are you supposed to do when the only two in the room are you? Sunshine. Life flows within you, and flowers grow. Vines intertwine, ribbons and rhymes. This is sunshine. In and out, you'll scream and shout, darling dear, this is your time to find your crevice and bide in the condensation of your mind. Wipe your crying, demand your climb, because darling dear, this is your time to let loose, feel fine. This is sunshine.
I'm Kaylee Novo. My career, I want to be a flight nurse. And Miss Ridgely asked me to read a poem. It's called This is Mendo. I come from the nature of the great outdoors. I come from where everyone likes to hunt and fish. I come from a town where everyone knows everybody. I come from long summer nights and huge open grape groves. I come from redwood trees everywhere you look. I come from where nobody cares about your race, culture, or religion. I come from a place where you've seen from you. I come from acceptance.
Thank you.
This is Alejandro de Aguilar. Mr. Horton, Mr. Richley, you can go up here too. This is Alejandro, and he has worked all of this year, and it's been very challenging. He's had to work each day. He works in a fast food restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And he's been trying to balance work and school, and but he just finished his high school diploma, and we're all very, very proud of you. So, congratulations. You are welcome. You need to get a.
Yes. Can I get Alejandro's last name?
We need to take a picture.
Oh, okay.
I need Alejandro's last name.
David Aguilar.
Okay, thank you. Was the D capital or is it small?
Capital.
Thank you.
We need to get a picture. Group photo.
Like,
Getting
over here by the podium? There you go.
Can I open it?
There you go.
Well done.
Congratulations.
All right.
We made it just in time.
Thank you.
Good guy.
Up to a P1 attendance report.
Okay, this is a requirement that we have submitted, and you can see our attendance as it rolls through the year. Nothing really extraordinary to report in it, just informational.
Thank you. Item C, looks like a change of venue. We'll be having our March meeting at Becker Grove.
My question for March is we have 2 meetings scheduled. Do you want to stay at 2 meetings? If we do move to 1 meeting instead of 2, we need to use the second meeting, so we'll be ready with some financial stuff. So that's kind of the board's discretion. Yeah, meeting a week apart.
So it'd be the 14th instead?
So you don't need
Well,
both
we-
meetings for us?
Not that I can see.
Okay.
Take
If
a
you want to
second.
make that decision later, it's fine, but we do have two scheduled in a short period of time.
And ideally, we want the 14th, that's what we're saying.
Right, the 14th, because on the 15th, we have to submit some financial stuff to the county, so.
We should, if we're gonna take action, then we should, vote on that.
Okay.
So I move that we have one meeting in March, scheduled for March 14th.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So
Still
carries.
at Bechtel Grove?
Yes, yes.
So the meeting on the 7th is canceled. And it'll be moved to the 14th at Bechtel Grove. And item number C, or D, credential certification authorization audit result.
Just, I wanted to make sure you got that document. It's a document we get back from the state, and the county approves that as well, showing that 100% of the staff meet the criteria for their classroom. We don't have anybody teaching outside of certificates or certifications. And so that's a tribute to Laura. She does a great job making sure everybody has their I's dotted and T's crossed to make sure that we're in the right place. So I wanted to bring that up because we had some discussion about certification of folks, and our teachers are all fully certified in doing what they need to do.
Thank you. Do you have WTA comments?
Good evening. I'm John Haschak, president of the Willits Teachers Association, and I sent Mr. Bowles an email this afternoon requesting that item number 14, which is public comments for items not on the agenda, be moved to earlier in the agenda, because I think there's some people here who would like to talk about items that aren't on the agenda, and it would be respectful for the teachers and everyone else, the parents, to have them come make their comments and be able to leave if so desired. So, if that's possible, it'd be a great thing.
The agenda is relatively short tonight. I think we'll be able to reach them quite quickly.
Okay. On a personal note, I'd like to thank Mr. Westerberg for making a pathway for my son to graduate, and so it was I very much appreciate it. And he's 2.5 weeks away from going into the Marines at this point, so I'm not saying it's all on you, but anyway, no, we're hoping for the best. So we have many concerns over the water situation at Brookside. It seems that students cannot drink the water in the classrooms. Some bring bottled water from home. Some teachers provide them, or various other approaches. But what I have heard is that there isn't a consistent plan to deal with lead in the water, or alleged lead in the water. This is especially concerning for our elementary schools when our children are most susceptible to lead poisoning. According to Tom Torlakson, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, AB 746 mandates that schools built before 2010 be tested for lead before sometime in 2019. This seems like it should be done as soon as possible. And in the meanwhile, there should be a consistent approach to ensure that students are not drinking this possibly tainted water. WTA members are always thinking of what is best for students, whether it be concerns over test scores, reading levels, nutrition, safety, or how long it takes a student to get from school to home and home to school. Of course, there are lots of questions about the reconfiguration plan. WTA has conducted its own survey of how teachers, counselors, and psychologists feel about the proposed ideas. We also had meetings at each site and had a meeting for all WTA members so people from different sites could share ideas. We looked at the pros, cons, concerns, and questions regarding any reconfiguration. What I heard from educators was a deep concern about how any plan would affect our students. We are all in agreement that we want successful schools, schools where students reach their potential. Successful schools require professional collaboration. Two areas of serious concern are grouping all English language learner students at one site and the full inclusion of moderate to severe special ed students. I have yet to talk to anyone who has felt that having all the ELD students, English language development students, at one site is a good idea. We are constantly trying to eliminate any disparities in education based on racial and economic factors. This could somehow cause serious consequences which should be fully considered before any decision is made. Special ed and regular ed teachers are quite concerned about the full inclusion model. Please talk to teachers about what this might look like for both types of students. Another concern is that this type of parallel K through 5 two-school structure will create a more desirable school and a less desirable school for reasons such as student population, location of school, programs offered at one school and not the other, discipline issues, personalities, or even those persistent rumors that swirl around on social media. I know that these may be unintended consequences, but are real nonetheless, and is this what we want for our community? Overall, WTA would like a timeline such as Phase 1 and Phase 2 for implementation of any plan and the cost associated with it. We are concerned because we have already seen a teacher be given the transitional first grade position. This was announced to the Brookside staff without the position even being flown or posted. Fortunately, a teacher noticed that this did not follow any kind of transfer procedure, and it is now being posted. The concern is that the reconfiguration plan is being implemented before full consideration of staff, parent, community opinions are heard. Thank you for your patience and involvement in these critical issues involving our community.
Okay. Would you like to address at least a little of that?
Sure. Well, I'll stand up, it's easier. I'm really pleased because we got about 60% of our parents to respond. And some were in writing, some were in Spanish, some were online, which is a great number. We had 415 students represented, which is 60% of the population. Okay? The board and I have had lots of discussion about this, and first and foremost, we've talked about it early on. We're not interested in 2 K-5 buildings, okay? We want to make sure that we reflect what the community wants in their buildings. They're elected by the community to represent the community. They hire me to make that happen, and the teachers work to make good things happen. So there's no talk about K-5 splits. There's no talk about language or EL splits. There's no talk about special ed splits. Did we ask the question? Of course we asked the question. We have to ask the question. Because to do what we're supposed to do, we need to know what people want. So we ask all those questions. We believe that the survey, and I just put this stuff together for me today. Okay, so it just got done today. It isn't passed out. This is going to go first to the group of teachers I initially talked to. I want to bring them together. I want them to see this. I want them to share it with their staff. I want this to be sent to the people who responded to the survey. They see it. But the outcome of it is really kind of simple. We want to stay at 2 K-5 buildings. Clearly, folks were adamant about let's have busing split between middle school, high school, and elementary. That was kind of a no-brainer. I don't remember the actual number. It was somewhere like 87% of the people wanted that to happen. Other things, there was good ideas. Lots of people like transitional first. But none of the stuff we're talking about is changing grade levels at buildings. There is a significant number of people who are interested in maybe a multi-age lower at Blosser, because there was a group of people who wanted to have their kid in the same building. We may offer that as an option, but we're talking about options in a building. That's what we should be providing, is options. As a district, we can be a district of choice, and we have options that we can do that nobody else can do. But clearly, through survey, through talking through community, to talking with my folks, reconfiguring K-5s is not an option where we're going to be able to do that in any fashion, for a lot of reasons. One is, it's too dramatic of a change right now. Facilities are an issue. But offering things like transitional first, that's to help what's gone from a 12% to a 17% swing in special ed referrals. Our special ed referrals are up. We need to take care of that before kids struggle. That's what transitional first is about. Multi-age, we might provide it as an option. And if parents are interested and they want to sign their kids up for it, that's great. If we have a staff member interested in doing it, and we put it out as an option, we'll see if parents want to sign up for it. If we have looping as an option, which we can, if parents sign up for it, we'll have that as an option. If the teacher's interested in looping, we'll have that conversation with the teacher, we'll put it as an option. But mass reconfiguration is not going to happen. Busing will certainly be different. That was an obvious thing. Having options in our school, like transitional first, teacher who loops, a multi-age classroom if you have people interested, those are things we should be able to provide. That's what we want to find out. What should we be providing that we're not? And those who came to other meetings, we've had the same exact configuration since 1989. It's my job to ask the question of the community, what do you want? What should we have? What makes good academic sense? What can we afford to do? So that's what we did. We asked all those questions. We didn't take anything off the table because you don't do that. You don't ask for community response and go, well, we'll do everything but that. We asked people what they wanted. Clearly, we want 2 K-5 buildings. Clearly, there's a group who are interested in multi-age. Not as significant, about a third of the people who responded were interested in that. So when you look at that, you'll go, well, 2/3 didn't want it. Well, yeah, 2/3 of the people weren't interested in multi-age, but 100+ were. That's a pretty big number. And if they want it and we can provide that option, we should provide that option. That's all we did. There's no reconfiguration plan. Our data didn't support that. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But before I start passing this out in the community, now I have what the community wants. The board will have a chance to look at it. And then we'll sit down with the teachers and say, how can we make this happen? But it has to work in that process. The community's first, the board's second, I go to the teachers. That's how it kind of has to work. Because we have to reflect what the community wants. And we got some really good data. We got a ton of written responses back. And I'm just going to tell you up front, I'm not handing those out to community and I'm not handing those out to teachers because they do call people out. Good and bad, by the way. But it's not reasonable for me to hand that out to people because I don't want anybody called out on a survey. It's supposed to be an anonymous survey, so I want to maintain that credibility. But I feel great about the data. The data was really good and lots of response. When we get 60% of our parents to respond to something, that's a lot, and that's good. It gave us good information. Again, my goal is very simple. I want us to get better academically. I want to draw students. I want to make us the district of choice. And so the only way you do that is to ask the question. And I understand what folks want. Everybody who's passionate about something In this whole process, I hear this all the time. I don't care about anything else but. That's usually how most of my conversations start. And that's okay. I understand that. I want you to be passionate about stuff. But there's no upsetting the apple cart. You're still going to have a K-1-2 building. You're still going to have a 3-5 building. Can we do some things different instructionally in those buildings? Yep. Could we offer a multi-age setting, maybe at Blosser, for the folks who want to have their kid at one building for a K-5 scenario so they don't transition? Yes, we can. We can offer that as an option. And if we get the numbers interested to do it, we'll provide the option. That's kind of where we're at. But we haven't even read through all the responses yet. I just got it collated like yesterday afternoon. They put the last one in. But our data was good. So that's kind of the answer to that.
Thanks, Mark.
CSEA comments.
Is that my comment?
CSEA.
Oh, is that yours?
Because I still got some.
We'll get back to you for something.
Oh, good. It won't be as long.
Good evening, I'm Tammy Jorgensen, Vice President of CSEA, and we've pinned Dan far enough into the corner that I get to speak today. What I'd like to say is really a combination of both our teachers unit, if you will, and our classified, which are, our secretaries, our custodians, this and that. And what I wanted to share is on Monday, this Monday, I was out ill. 3 of my coworkers were also out ill. 3 of our teachers were out. And with the small staff we have, there was some scrambling going on. Serious scrambling. Like, teachers would be maybe at that door where we make sure that 50 kids don't get into the line in the cafeteria, where we typically have one of our staff. And Pam was answering phones all day, because the phones ring quite a bit and we try to get to them as soon as we can. But what I super duper appreciate is the team that we have at Bechtel. We're all, doesn't matter, oh, you're a teacher, you can't do that, or oh, you're just a secretary, you don't help here or there. And what I super appreciated, because of course I'm homesick, so I don't know that 6 other people are out, right? But I came to the next day and I found a note. Ms. McGee always puts a note on the whiteboard in our staff room. And what it said was, we can't thank you enough, all of you, for pitching in, finding a place to help, and just being there for our students. And so, as your CSEA person, I just want to say I am so thankful for where I work. I'm thankful for the people I work with. I'm glad they're all regaining their health. And all I have to say, I'd like to keep it on a positive note.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good news.
Yes.
Back to you, Mark.
There you go, Mark.
First of all, I want to make sure I reiterate something. Bechtel does have the gold star for school improvement this year. In the last year, they have had a tremendous turnaround this year, and they've got things really going well. It's super noticeable for me because I'm not getting thank you calls. I always get the other calls, and I don't get those. They have really taken care of business and straightened some things out and are doing great work. Let's talk water at Brookside. By the way, the same thing exists in probably every building we have. The lead that was tested, and by the way, it was all tested. We tested at every site. The issue with lead at Brookside is it is a very minimal amount, well under the acceptable level from the city. Now, you and I would say no level's acceptable, okay? But it is well within their range of acceptable. So what have we tried to do to fix that? Well, we've looked at about 5 different scenarios to try and fix that. One is we roto-rooted every pipe because we had to. That's the first thing you have to do is clean the pipe. Second, we looked at all of the fixtures that we have. Our biggest issue is that to bring drinking water there, every room has a very old drinking fountain faucet setup that is really old. Probably our issue, it might be coming from the fixture itself. And so we're testing that right now in one of the classrooms. We're changing out the fixture in there to see if it's our fixture that's creating the minuscule amount of lead that they're picking up. It might be the old pipe lead that's inside the fixture itself, right at the sink. In the short run, the Parents Club and I at Brookside have purchased a replacement for that drinking fountain that's in the cafeteria that has a bottle filler on it as well. It's one of the Elaka, I think is their name. Really nice setup. It's cooled, chilled, filtered water. And so that's going to get put in place. The problem with putting more of those in place around the building is freezing and cooling. You want it to be openly accessible. The problem is you can't put them outside because it would freeze. So we're trying to figure out a location. I think we have one other location, and it's the passway between the office and the cafeteria. That's a real common space that would stay warm enough to not freeze. But that's our real solution there. We have exactly the same issue up at Sherwood. The water we use at Sherwood in the classrooms is brought in by big bottled water because the water out there is not drinkable. Okay, it's not an issue with the city water, it's just there is no water there. So we're aware of the problem. We've been part of there's a grant to go out and get some money. I've worked with the PTO at Brookside. We're in on the grant cycle. The problem is the grant cycle takes like a year to process. So we're aware of the problem. We're trying to fix it, but I will tell you, it's not just Brookside. I mean, the perfect example is the high school's date is 1929. And all you got to do is go down in the basement and see the boiler. And you'll know where the Titanic's boiler went. Okay? And it's old plumbing piping. And yeah, we need a major solution to fix some of that. And most of what we think is the issue is right in the classroom at the faucet. And we're testing a solution to see if we can fix that. But clearly the water is in the acceptable range. That's why the city's really not going to pitch in and help with anything because it's clearly within their acceptable range. So this isn't a problem we can go to the city and say, hey, because it's marginal enough that it's in their acceptable range, and once they bring it to us, it's our problem. So, yeah, we're painfully aware of it. Just like roofs and everything else, we have to be diligent to fix our facility. So, I just want to make sure I got that out there.
Anything else besides the water issue?
No.
Board comments? Let's start with Bob.
None?
Cynthia?
Yeah, let's see, I had the pleasure of going to Bechtel Grove Middle School's band program that they had over at the high school. Well, that was wonderful. They had 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, did a fabulous job. The music was great. They looked wonderful, behaved well. It was just a really fun evening, well attended by the community, and lots of really good music. And I really enjoyed that. I also had the pleasure of coming to the high school for senior interviews, which was really fun. Hadn't done that in a couple years. And the kids that came around to my table were just had all sorts of things going on and wonderful goals and accomplishing a lot and were nervous as could be. And but you know, pulled through it and did it and forced themselves. And it was encouraging. It made me feel good about our generations coming up and all that kind of good feeling out of doing it. I really enjoyed it. And I think this is great to come into the other schools. I like doing meetings like this. I think it's a nice touch to it. So that's it.
Chris? No, nothing tonight. I've been helping the wrestling program, particularly with the girls wrestling teams. That's been an eye-opener for me. A number of years ago, I worked as the head coach for the wrestling program for 2 years, myself and my younger brother, Darren. We had a great time with the boys, but we didn't have any girls on the team. The girls wrestling is a lot of fun. The girls have been very excited about what they're doing and just a joy to watch as their wrestling skills develop. And they're, in some ways, they're a lot more fun to coach than the boys, but they were just a blast to watch. Also did get to participate in the senior interviews. That was, it's the second year for me. It was clearly some of our seniors are off to a great start. I think the senior interviews demonstrate that. And then the last is I seem to have gotten roped into helping my wife fix a bunch of her tooling at the welding shop. But those are just the sort of things that cause me both fun and grief, if you will. But, so that's what I got for that. Let's see. Any public comments on the consent agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Colvick. Any discussion? All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay. We'll jump down to item number C, approval of resolution 2017-18-4 Staywell Health Plan, JPA.
So this is just an annual resolution by the board stating our intent to continue participating in the Staywell JPA for our employee health insurance. This is a plan that our district has participated in for many years, and the way the bylaws are structured, the employee groups have representation on the Staywell board. So myself and Dan Green and Tessa Ford are all part of that group, and we help to monitor, the expenses of the program. And we're actually have had some discussions about getting together and doing some more cohesive work in the district to try and do some outreach with our employees to help everyone understand the way all of our choices and as consumers of our health insurance impact the costs of the plan, and also to help them understand what resources are available to them. So I'm looking forward to working on that. But on this agenda, all that is required is an approval of the board to participate again for the next school year.
Okay. Do we actually shop that around from time to time?
So there is a consultant that works with Staywell, and every few years he does do some, he gets bids and does some negotiating with other plans. Right now we're with Blue Shield, and that has proven to be the most cost effective. They do look at other options every few years.
Okay. Motion to approve?
I move that we approve.
I'll second. Motion's been moved and seconded. Any discussion at the board? Does this need to be a roll call?
A resolution, yes.
But before we vote, can I just ask what the county's office involvement in this is?
So the county business assistant superintendent, I believe, holds a position on the board, so she does all the aggregate, data, budget for this stuff. But all activities are voted on by the group as a whole.
Yeah. I also heard that this group, Checkers, which is an outside group, I think it's called Checkers, was going to come in and help Staywell, and they look at the whole program and see if they're really being as cost effective as possible, getting the most bang for the buck.
I'm not sure what that.
I forget, it's an acronym for something.
I know that our consultant is working on, I can't remember who he was working with. He was going to have somebody take a look to see if they could provide any additional recommendations to the group. He does a lot, we're always looking at things like, we struggle in our community access-wise for medical care. And so he's always trying to look to see, are there ways to get better access for things like blood labs and, medical clinics and things like that. And so there's a lot that he's doing behind the scenes to try to improve our access and also to look at efficiency.
But to be honest with you, I'd have to go back and double check my notes because I don't have that with me. Okay. So, but I can double check and get more information. I just don't know off the top of my head.
We're certainly interested in bringing costs down.
So, I'm sorry, Chris. Yeah, so,
Taking a vote.
so, Trina, do you want to call the vote?
I will. Board Member Carney? Yes. Board Member Mary?
Yes?
Board President Wolf?
Yes.
And Board Clerk
Yes.
Dr. Paul? Thank you.
And we have first reads on, looks like, or excuse me, CIF,
There you go.
approval of CIF membership application. Item D.
That's an annual thing with California Interscholastic. And honestly, I thought we had done it already, but apparently we are not.
This is for 18-19. It has to be in before May. They just got to jump on it this year. And the application includes Sanhedrin students, again, for 18-19.
Perfect.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
My second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay. So acknowledging the first read of policies, E through L. I'm E through L. So we just need to make note that, acknowledge that we have received those first reads on all those policies. Any discussion? And items for, let's see, let's just go public comments for items not on the agenda. If you would, please come up to the podium.
I'm Lisa May. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Blosser Lane. And I have a couple of things I wanted to ask about and talk about. So one thing is, in the watermark, you're saying all our sites have this problem. Does that mean that all of the schools have trace amounts of lead in the water?
All of our schools have issues with water, whether it's the piping. It isn't lead at Blosser, for example.
Okay.
But we have a major water issue, and every time we try to resolve it, for example, those water fountains out back continually are blowing, and there's water all over the place.
Yes, I know that. Water fountains are always an issue. Outside water fountains are always an issue.
I was at Blosser Lane last year, and I asked the students what they would like to see changed, and almost unanimously get the water fountains fixed on the playground.
Yeah, it's true. Every school I've worked at, those outside water fountains are always an issue. The other issues I wanted to talk about, one was the transitional first, and I'm not understanding exactly what you're saying when you say that that's going to help our special ed, because the issue of giving a student more time in the primary grade is not a special ed issue. And those kids who just need more time would never qualify for special ed. And so that's not really going to have an impact on our special ed.
That's really not true, but.
If a student needs more time, then they're not going to need special ed ever, unless they're a special ed student. Because for special ed, they have to have a learning disability, and that doesn't mean they need more time.
Right. And a discrepancy between their achievement.
Right,
which
but
happens over time.
My understanding is transitional first will not impact your special ed because they're two different groups of students.
That's not the opinion of others, but that's fine.
Well, it's not really an opinion, it's a fact.
In your head, it is a fact.
Transitional first are kids that need more time, they're not kids with learning disabilities, as our special ed teachers are agreeing with. So, I just wanted to
Go on,
clear.
that's fine.
Okay, so the other issue is when I really appreciate you asking the parents about their reconfigurations absolutely. They are our customers, our constituents, whatever you want to call them. And they are absolutely number one in conferring with when we're making changes with the school. And I think that was very, I can't, my vocabulary is gone because it's after 5. But that was a very considerate thing to do, to go to the parents. And I feel that that was well received by our parents. I guess my question is, when will you ask the teachers? And I have never been asked or given a venue to speak about what I feel that we need at the schools. And the parents are absolutely wonderful, but they're not trained in education. And so they don't always understand. Before I became a teacher, I had very different ideas about how it should be in the classroom. And now that I'm a teacher, I realize that I wasn't informed. And so I'm just wondering, is there in a plan where you're going to ask the teachers what we feel is needed to make our school achieve higher? Because those are the people that are in the trenches making the difference. And like I brought up at one of the meetings that you had, more training for us, because we have never been formally trained in Common Core. It's all been up to the teachers to research it on their own. And so we're all implementing Common Core at different levels. And, you know, it just seems to me that the teachers should have some input about how we're changing the school. Just like Mr. Haschek said, we are all, every teacher that I work with really wants our students to achieve. All of us really want the kids to have the best opportunities possible. And there are things that we know that we don't have or we're not getting access to. And so I'm not understanding why we're not part of the equation. I know you worked with a group of teachers, but that was a group of teachers who didn't have a chance to come to the staff and say, what things would you think would be possible? And that's my question and my concern, because I think part of why the teachers are responding the way they are is because we don't feel heard. We don't feel like we have a place to talk about what we feel like we need, and when we do bring it up, you know, we're dismissed. I felt very dismissed at several times when I brought up things at meetings. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, there's a process, as I explained it. Community first, then the board, then we go to the teachers. I met with a group of teachers. I'm going to meet with them again, and I will be back with all of the teachers once we get this in place. I just got this done.
So
It's not something that takes place in 35 minutes, and it's not driven by the teachers. It's driven by the community and the board. Then we work with the teachers to say, can we put the program in place? What's the value, and does it work? So
I
they
don't
are.
hear you saying you're going to ask the teachers, and that's what I'm talking about.
Well,
Yeah, I would just like to chime in on that. I thought the comments were all very well stated, but I think I'm a lawyer, so I want to quibble over words a little bit. I think what we would do is consult with the teachers. Ask is a different concept, because I think, at least from my vantage point, I want, you know, those decisions being made over here with the consultation with the teachers, consultation with the board, consultation with the community. But we do have, you know, and probably some people would prefer not to see it that way, but I think we do have a centralized command structure, and the decisions are made in the district office. But I fully support consultation with the teachers.
I think that's universal across the board. We firmly believe that the teachers have a great deal to offer, both in options and different ideas, but understand that at some point someone does have to make a decision, and no matter what the decision is, some people are going to be very much in favor of it, some people are going to be maybe mediocre, and still others are going to be very much against. But still, one way or another, a decision has to be made on, you pick the topic. I like the idea that, yes, you do need to be heard. You need to know that your voice means something, and it's not just, okay, yeah, I heard you, go away. That's not the scenario that we want to see here. We definitely value the input of CSEA, WTA, and all of you as individuals. We all know that many of you have children in the district, and that you want your children to get the best opportunities as possible. And we want to be able to provide that. But when the rubber hits the road, someone does have to make a decision.
Absolutely. I agree with that 1,000,000,000%, which is not really a number. However, I absolutely agree with that. But the decision makers need to have input from all parties.
Yes.
And that's all I'm saying.
And we agree.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Good.
We
Thank
agree.
you very much.
Anybody else?
And it doesn't just impact the teachers, it impacts everybody.
Absolutely.
And what's the cost gonna be? I mean, we've gone through how many superintendents in the last 15 years? We had a couple that changed all kinds of stuff. And the cost had to be significant, changing teachers from one school to the next. So why do we have to pass it this coming year? Why can't we put it on the back burner and toy with it and see what it's gonna cost? Get the teachers involved in this, everybody, get everybody involved. Get this man to get to know his employees. He comes to the school, he walks the dog, doesn't know half of his employees, or probably more, which is a shame. Steve Jorgensen made a rule. He always stopped by. Hey, how are you guys today? Can I help you with something? You know, Pat Johnson did the same thing. Even the other intern. Get to know your employees, sir.
I think you missed the first
Well,
half of
I
it.
know, the whole thing of it is you guys are trying to implement something that the teachers aren't behind.
You might be a little
And the
premature.
community might be behind it, but they need to step up and be behind their teachers. Their teachers are the ones that are teaching the kids. You guys aren't in the classroom.
You're right, but you
don't
might
know
be a
what's
little
going
bit,
on,
you might be a
And
little
you don't know what
premature.
the impact is on each of the schools. So why don't we sit back, figure this out?
I
before
believe
we
that's the
jump on
process
it like
we're in
we
right
did
now.
with Pat Johnson. How much money did that cost? Put in third grade at Becker Grove. And the traffic, it was a nightmare, total nightmare. So be patient, figure this out. Talk to your teachers. They're the most valuable people in this community. They're teaching our future. So we could all retire one day, hopefully. So come on, guys. We're all on the same team. So if your teachers are, you know, speaking up and saying, hey, could we please wait? You know, do we have to have that decision this coming year? No. Is he going to be here in the next 5 years? Do we know that? No,
Trying to sign him
we
up to a
don't.
long-term contract.
So he could be here for another year, then we get another superintendent, and they switch it back the other way. Seems like every time we get a superintendent, things happen, and they don't happen for the good of the teachers or the employees, or even the students. So let's really think about
Let me help
this
you with
and
something
do what's right
before-
for the kids.
Before you got here, I made a statement about some things we learned from the survey. We're clearly not dividing into two K-5 buildings. I said that before the meeting hardly got going. Okay, so all of the transition and all that stuff you're talking about, I've already said that's not options. Our data tells us that. So.
Well, I'm sorry I missed that. I'm glad I got to speak.
It's okay.
So
I don't mind your 2 cents, folks. I just want you to know.
My name is, my name is Ms. Jennifer Valenzuela Watkins, my teacher name, sorry. And I know you haven't asked for direct input yet, and I did hear the part about you saying that you would like to eventually come to the teachers and get, as Mr. Neary said, our consultation. Well, I kind of jumped the gun, and we had some teachers do some research. And so we put together a little research, just kind of brought to you by the WTA. And this is some information on how schools can be higher performing. And so it's a little bit premature according to, I guess, what you're planning.
I'm glad you have it.
But
It'll
it's
be
here
part
for
of our
you
discussion.
because we are oh so eager to make changes for the better of our students. And
I can even.
Okay. But like I was saying, you know, the reason that this has become such a huge issue for teachers is because we did feel a bit like we were left out of the, you know, the decision-making process. And I understand that there's going to be somebody who is in charge who makes that decision. That makes total perfect sense to us. But we feel like as people that are with the students all day and have devoted our lives to this, because we have, that our voices really do need to be heard. We're with these children all the time. We're part of the community. My 2 children are going to be going through the system. My daughter's starting kindergarten next year. And all of these things weigh heavily on me, not just as a professional, but also as a member of our community who wants to stay in the community and wants my kids to go through school in our schools. So we go, and hopefully you guys look at it and come back to us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let me tell you part of the impetus for this, by the way. Is not just, I didn't wake up some morning and go, how can I really get a bunch of people excited? Okay. We had a very significant plan when I came on to restructure at middle school and high school and alternative ed to get those turned around quickly. Okay. And it's worked very well. Our plan all along has been to make sure we have a curriculum in place K-5, which we have now, benchmarks and everyday math. After that was in place, now we have to ask the question, I represent the board who represents the community. We ask the community, what do you want from your school? They give us that result. Now I meet with the teachers to talk about it. And a lot of this stuff is teacher stuff and things you can do in your building, which we need to do. The board is supportive of this, not to rattle chains. They and I are not happy with 2 things. Our performance academically needs to get better, significantly. And we also need to be the school of choice. We want to be the school of choice. We want to be able to make us the choice where people go, why wouldn't you go to Willits Unified? That's what we should all want. And it's a process. And it's not, you got to crack some eggs to make a cake. And if I went to the teachers first and got everything the teachers wanted and said, let's do this, that's not representing the community. I have to represent the community and the board first. Then we, because I'm an employee too, have to see if we can make that happen. And that's where we're at. And that's why the data we got back was really good. We don't need to do, the community's not asking for a mass reconfiguration. They're not asking to put one program here or another program there. They're asking us to look at options, fix busing, look at things like multi-age, looping. There are people who want to do that. You have colleagues who've already sent back their return next year and marked on there, hey, I'm interested in looping. So some of your folks already know it's a good idea and want to do it. So let's talk about that and put it into place. But we can react as staff and educators in a quicker fashion than getting community surveys and board input and all that. We can act, we have structures in place to do that. So that's kind of where we're at.
And I just wanted to make one more comment about something you brought up. One of the things that I think sometimes gets lost in the mix of all these talks is that it feels like maybe, or it appears to me that people feel like teachers are kind of in it for their own gain.
No.
But it sometimes feels like that. It's hard not to feel that way, especially when you pass out research and most of it is, you know, based on what would help academically. It's not about, you know, making our paychecks bigger or giving us more time, but it's educating us so we can be better for the teachers, which is really going to have the highest impact on our kids. So that's all I wanted to say, but there you go.
Well, thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Rowland, and I didn't plan on speaking, but I just wanted to talk about not the details of the plan, and I'm sorry I was late, but I volunteered a kitchen on Wednesdays, and I hate missing it. So anyway, but one thing that's been on my mind as we've been talking about the reconfiguration is vision. And I know that successful companies and organizations have a clear vision and a clear values statement. And they let the vision and the values guide them in all of the decisions that they make. And one of those guys who I admire is, well, now I forgot his name, but the CEO of Salesforce. And he came up with V2 Mom as what guides his whole organization. And he calls his organization, they're all Ohana, it's family, it's collaborative, and less consulting and more collaborative. And I know that I would love to work in a district that had a clear vision and one that I could read and get behind, and I felt that it guided us and that we all had values that we buy into, and then we set out methods that will help us reach the vision and support the values, and we have a set of objectives, and we identify obstacles, and we have measures, and that's all the B2 Mom idea. It's obviously successful for whatever the name of the CEO of Salesforce is. Who, Benioff, Mark Benioff. Thank you. Yes, he's got a hospital in San Francisco named after him. So I will say he's a successful guy. And what drives his team is this V2 Mom. It guides everything they do, and they're extremely successful. So, for example, I looked at our website on EdJoin, and I saw Willits, and then I saw Ukiah Unified. Willits, we have a picture on our EdJoin homepage of a DO office that does not exist anymore, and Ukiah has their vision boldly stated right there. This is who we are. Come work for us. And it's small things like that that I think will make a really big change. And I think that that's something that I, as a teacher, and maybe my fellow teachers, can buy into. It's like, this is who we are. This is who we stand for. This guides all of these decisions, these really big, meaty things that we have to tackle. And I know this is where I get bogged down in the details of all of this change, and it feels uncomfortable at times. But I'm just throwing that out as a suggestion. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Manuel Roscoe. I have a daughter that's currently within the school district, and I was once a product of the school district. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the two decisions that were in play, which was the looping and multigrade. For the most part, I'm glad that there's going to be more conversation associated with that, because from the most part, what I've seen in a lot of the research from what you've provided and other research that I've also looked up as well, was that there are pros associated with each one, but there's also a large amount of cons that are associated with it as well. So discussion is definitely necessary in order to be able to address those, such as, for the most part, what I've seen in multigrade teaching is that most of the impetus in being able to administer this is, most of the issues require the teachers in order to be able to kind of pick up their game in order to be able to do it on their own. And there's no training or anything like that dealing with the regards to what is considered a part of dealing with the multigrade, which is how to teach a class, how do you grade the class, how do you deal with the subject matter at any point in time. Do you teach two curriculums, or do you teach one curriculum for both? All these things need to be flushed out, and they need to be talked about before you're deciding on this particular action. Along with that, it's like I said before, it's relied mostly on the teachers and anything like that in order to be able to adopt a curriculum themselves. And I'd like to see somebody actually, when you guys are implementing this idea, that you guys take some direction or give some direction to the teachers in order to be able to implement this process correctly. And also within looping as well. And for the most part, from what I've seen from both multi-grade and teaching and also looping, is that the teacher buy-in and parent buy-in is extremely important in order to be able to make these projects successful. And so every time I've seen any of these studies come out, each of the studies have always addressed the fact that they need to have buy-in from the teachers The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the water report. If at all possible, could I get a copy of that water report? Sure. Okay, thank you.
The principal has it.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to be able to ask that. And
I do want to, a couple things. One is, you're correct about the multi-age and needing a trainer. We're fortunate and unfortunate in the fact that Gina's retiring at Sherwood. She has taught multi-age forever. And she is going to train her successor out at Sherwood. And she is more than willing to train anybody on our staff in the other buildings who want a multi-age. She's done it for a long time and done it very well. So we do have somebody in-house who we know, who knows our curriculum. So that's a bonus. But you're right, and multi-age isn't for everybody. It should be a parent choice and a teacher choice to do that. Secondly, with looping, again, same thing. I'm not proposing that everybody be a looping teacher. I'm saying that it sounds to me like, based on what our data tells us, at third grade, we should have an option that says you could loop if you want to. But remember, there's 4 or 5 third grades. One only might be a looping class. I'm not telling everybody, not every teacher should loop. Kids and parents maybe don't want to be together for 2 years. Okay, there are some reasons for that, but the teacher has to be engaged to be wanting to loop, as well as the parents. And that's part of what looping is. It's engaging the parent, hey, we're in this together for 2 years. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done for that to happen. I first had to know, is it even something anybody's even remotely interested in? And the answer to that was yes.
well, and that's the thing, is that I just want to be able to make sure that you guys are understanding the gravity of the situation. For the most part, I've done this quite a few times in my career. I've actually been in front of boards and everything like that. I find it actually interesting that I'm a little bit more nervous now than what I'm normally at.
We're
And I
pretty
think it's has to do
imposing.
with because my child. You know, I mean, my child's involved in this, and so I'm really, really concerned about her well-being and how she's going to progress. Because I got to be honest, in my experience through the Willits Unified School District, I didn't have such a positive result. I didn't have a good result from it. I had actually a very, very poor outlook on how my schooling went, and I was actually blessed because my mother was very much involved in the community, the Mendocino College community, and the community, the Mendocino College, community college, and so I was able to deal with a lot of the, lack of schooling that I got from Willits Unified School District because she was involved with that, and so, and I was able to progress outside of that. But I don't want that for my daughter. I really don't. I want her to be able to flourish and get the best education she possibly can. And so it's important to me where I drove a couple hours to be here on time.
Sir,
For the meeting.
are you aware that we have vacancy on the school board and we're accepting?
We will be soon.
Soon.
No, it's not, but I think my wife is also offered this position as well. And, both of us have the heart.
And I just want to tell you my role. My role is to really engage the community in the school. That doesn't mean make everybody happy. It means find out. And I'm a school improvement person. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to make sure everybody's happy. It would have been easy to come into Willits and just try and keep people happy because nobody was happy with anybody when I got here. Okay? That would have been easy to sit and stay status quo and maintain it as marginally happy. We're happier than we were with the last person. That would have been easy. That's not who I am. I want us to be the best school in the area. We're going to be the best school, not just in Mendocino, but we're going to be the best school around that we can be. That's my goal. It's never changed. It's never going to waver. We have great potential that is untapped. That's my job, is to try and tap that.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Items for the next regular board agenda?
I'm really brief. I just wanted to ask the question, I know it's very early. What does it look like with the severe to moderate in a classroom co-teaching with another teacher? What does it look like in your eyes?
Well, the first and foremost, there has to be chemistry between the adults. Okay, without that, it is a absolute train wreck. It has to do with the class size, it has to do with the age of the kid, the amount of time they're in, where are the paraprofessionals at when that's happening. But bringing students into normalized peer settings in a co-teaching environment, if it's done well by two adults, it's the absolute best learning environment. How do you know that? Well, does the child grow socially? If they grow socially but not academically, then you have to not do that. Because the primary purpose is to have them grow academically. So if it can be done where academic growth happens, it's wonderful because you have two adults in the same room with the child. They don't feel excluded, they feel included. But again, the chemistry between the adults has to work. And so that's a bigger question. It's also a numerical question. Because if we have a larger population, we're not going to be able to do that. You can't bring 10 students into a classroom of 15 regular ed students. You have a mismatched population. So can it happen? Kelly's looking at numbers, she's looking at programs. She doesn't think it's reasonable to try next year unless it were a piloted thing in the second semester. But I have to tell you, I'm concerned about our growing special ed costs, our lack of funding coming from SELPA, which will be another $100,000 plus hit next year. So our costs are going up, our percentage of special ed are going up, and trying to include anything else that's going to raise that budget, there would have to be a major academic value to do that. And so those are the things we have to look at. But those aren't community things, those aren't really even board things, because they're not into the detail that much. That's Kelly and I and you and the teachers just saying, can this program work? Can these two adults, first of all, work together? Does it benefit the kids? And you can even, in a severe room, you can have a dramatic range. You can have one child who skews the whole mix. And so we got to look at that. Is it a great thing? Sure, when it works, it's a great thing. Can that be your everyday program? Not in a district our size. Because a district our size, as I've told folks before at meetings, we're unfortunately big enough to have one of everything. In Ukiah, they have 3 of everything. So they can separate out again and say, well, at this elementary, we can do that. We'll have these students at this elementary, and this inclusion program will work nicely. Well, it doesn't at this one. They have some movement. We have no movement. We have basically singleized programs. And so that's really the biggest issue for me.
So my concern, or I should say, the way I'm looking at it is there would be one general ed teacher. I'm not sure if it would be a moderate to severe teacher in the classroom the whole time, or if it would be a paraprofessional. So if I had 20 students in my classroom, general ed, then I would have how many moderate to severe? We're talking students that can't be in a classroom sometimes for more than 30 minutes at a time. Would they be in the classroom full time, and that would be their homeroom, co-teaching with that other teacher? Because that's what I'm understanding from the plan, and maybe I'm just confused on that.
Yeah, I think you're confused.
Okay, because when I'm understanding that a moderate to severe teacher is co-teaching with a general ed teacher, then they're sharing the same room, and the students are in the classroom the whole time and maybe leaving every now and then, but that's their homeroom. Versus, I guess I should say, beginning mainstreaming would be joining a general ed classroom during like an art lesson or something that they can contribute to or join in, and it would be like 30 minutes or as much as the student can do. And in Ukiah, they tried the plan where in the previous years, from my understanding, and I might be wrong, but I've just heard this in the last few months after this plan came through, that this year they tried doing the mainstreaming where it was co-teaching, and it's not working out, to where they're going back to the old model of bringing students in individually with paraprofessionals, and I was in their classroom observing last year, and they had a classroom of first grade, brand new teacher. A boy with his, it was severe to moderate. Two paraprofessionals with him came in the room and tried to join the art lesson. And it, for a short amount of time, it works, but it wouldn't have worked all day long with the child climbing underneath the counters and into the cords of the computer, and very distracting. So that's my concern. And when you say about the board and it's your decision with the teachers and the special education committee, it's also parent concern, because it's also a general education parent concern. If they're going to take, if it's not working for the special education student, then how is it working for the general education student? So there's a lot of, I know I'm jumping ahead, but it's not clear. And so what we're wanting is a clear phase 1, phase 2, this is what we're planning, this is what we're thinking. And we want to be asked, what do you think? And from my understanding, it was, this is my plan, go tell everybody my plan, and then we'll meet again. And we haven't heard when that next meeting is. So it really concerns me. And I'm a new teacher, and I have my whole heart in it. And my kids go to school here. Well, I can't say my son does. I moved into Eagle Peak, and I'm one of those parents because of technology. It's huge. My son is at Eagle Peak in Ukiah because of technology. He's one-to-one with computers. He is a mathematical mind engineer, and I'm not going to hold him back. So, and I'm sorry I get so emotional, but when it has to do with my kids, they come first. And my career doesn't come first. My kids come first. And I love my job. So that's two sides. As a professional side, which I wasn't very professional when I get all emotional, but and as a parent, and I don't know what else I wanted to say, but I hope you look at the research we did, because it is with our hearts, and we're always looking at what's best for our students. And sometimes we can't make sure we're fitting in the budget at our students' cost. And so they can't be the exception and cutting back from them because we want to save a penny. So, I don't know.
Let me just say, you're about 10 chapters down the road.
Well, I have to think ahead, and I'm a teacher, I'm a planner.
I understand that, okay?
But no decisions have been made.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm
Do you get that?
Okay, the reason why I'm so worried and I have to plan ahead with this is because the transitional first grade position came on, and when we were blindsided with the transitional first grade position, then we were like, whoa, this is going full force. This is already started. So what else is coming next? Yeah. And we have to be thinking about it because it's for our students. And traditional kindergarten or traditional first grade could work, but I also worry, is that 4 years that a student could do before they get into second grade? Because they could be in TK, they could go to kindergarten, they could go to transitional first grade, and then they could go to first grade. How old will they be? And are they still with their same age group kids when they get to second grade, or are we 2 years? I don't know. There's a lot of things to work out. And same with looping. If I'm worried about a position because I'm a new hire, say it's my first year teaching fourth grade, and the third grade teacher teaches looping with the students, and I know that teacher's coming to fourth grade, am I going to be bumped out because they're taking the same students to fourth grade? Or are we creating, depending on enrollment, are we creating another classroom to house those 20 or 23 students, and I'm going to be able to keep my position? I mean, those are things that are huge for a teacher.
Well, John already knows this. We're not laying anybody off. Well, we've already told him that. We're not moving it about. Okay. So
I know, but I want to stay in fourth grade the rest of my career.
Again.
Okay.
I'll answer it really simply.
Okay.
Contractually, if you want to stay in fourth grade, you can stay in fourth grade. Okay? Am I right, John?
Well, yeah,
Right
I don't know.
Yes.
But if the enrollment doesn't match that looping teacher, do I, like?
Amy, that's
I don't know.
all.
Okay, I know that's
way out
okay.
there.
Okay, and then
we
one
will-
last thing before I go,
All right.
and I'll try not to be quick. So if you have, if you want to go with what the parents' choice is and move a K2 to Blosser, and because that's what you
If
said
there's
just a minute ago,
interest.
if there's interest, my concern is how much will it cost for facilities, because we don't have the equipment for the playground. We don't have the facilities with the shorter toilets for those kindergartners. There are a lot of extra expenses that we need to look at if we're moving K2 or 3-5, even if it's just one class. We have to be able to do that, and that is money. And I want more books instead of moving a third through fourth grader to the other school. We need a remodel there.
A product of our school system. I think we did a pretty good job.
Sorry, and I graduated, well, sorry. Oh, I didn't introduce myself, Amy Groom.
My name is Melissa Smilgies. I am a parent first, and I am the special day class teacher for the Mod Severe program at Brookside. These proposed changes are incredibly concerning to me as a parent first. My daughter, my husband and I moved around quite a bit before we finally settled in Willits. And my daughter has a core group of friends, and the parents are here too. We really, the three of us ladies and all the other people in this room, truly, deeply care about our schools. It's so wonderful that my daughter has friends. But secondly, as the Mod Severe teacher, my students are her friends. She comes into my classroom and they know her name. They love her. She invited some of them to her birthday party. One of the girls in my class has only been invited to 3 birthday parties, and my daughter's was one of them. My students are the most marginalized on campus, and they require the most significant amount of attention and love and compassion that I feel that the teachers at our schools truly give to our students. We have a model set up, myself and the other SDC teacher here, Amanda, that has only been in place for 2 years, and it is successful. We do mainstreaming. We don't do full inclusion. For only some students do full inclusion, but primarily the SDC moderate to severe students do mainstreaming. The teachers are incredibly supportive to me, but most importantly to our students. The idea of full inclusion sounds great on paper, but especially for students that are learning disabled. But for students who cannot comprehend what is happening to them, they wear diapers, they cannot speak, they don't understand 3rd grade mathematics. They need to understand their colors and their name and how to write their name. I am providing that to them. Amanda is providing that to them. And the great thing about Willits is we get to do on a small scale. It's why I came here, because I get to have a smaller classroom so I can provide the love and compassion that those students deserve and need. But secondly, and one of the greatest things I love about Willits, is the community here. There is so much love here. As a product of the Bay Area and Chicago, this blew me away when I first came here. My students are loved, and their general education peers love them back. And the models that Amanda and I have set up, it's working, and it's helping them. And I just would like to see that continue, because I truly love those guys. And secondly, on a personal note, I'm a highly qualified teacher. I have 13 years experience in teaching and 10 years, I have 13 years experience in education and 10 years as a full-time teacher. I have a master's degree in special education, and I have worked so hard to get here. My husband knows all the sleepless nights, and the tears, and the tests that I had to take over and over and over again to be a Mod Severe teacher. It is the hardest teaching job to get in the state of California. It requires the most education. And although I love interns, a highly qualified, skilled, trained teacher should be with our students and help train interns. There should be a team of us, and it shouldn't rely on just one person who is also going through the training that I had to go through, because I know it's hard. And the community aspect. Keeping our students, the small dinosaur schools we have of K2, 3, 5, it allows that community building. It allows my students to be part of the community that maybe their peers will see working at Safeway one day or the post office. That's wonderful. And it's so great when my kids come into another person's classroom and they all come up to him and hug him. But it's also really great when my daughter comes into my class and they all hug her. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you for your comments. Very much appreciate it. Please understand, we have no intention of making these decisions in a void. Okay? We definitely value your input. I think we've already said that. But like Superintendent has said, there is a process. We're committed to that process. Whether or not we're going to be 2 K-5 schools, whether we're going to be looping, whether we're going to be multi-age, those are all decisions that are yet to be made. What you provided us here, please believe that it will see its light of day, and hopefully the collaboration between all the parties that are involved will result in schools here that are the first choice of people in Willits, and eventually our test scores reflect that, and culture and climate in our schools improves to the point where all of our kids really want to be there and are very successful. With that said, do we have any items for the next regular agenda?
Yes, I was surprised. Well, actually, I wasn't surprised, but I'm gratified that the city, which we've developed a pretty good working relationship with, consulted with Mark before they made the decision to close down parking on the west side of 101.
In front of the high school.
In front of the high school. And at first I thought to myself, well, this is a bad decision, and the lawyer in me is trying to figure out, I could figure out a way to stop that from going forward. But it may just, I went over to the high school by mistake for tonight's meeting, and I was trying to get out, and I was shocked at how much traffic is coming off the freeway, Brook Trails traffic, coming in front of the high school now and going up to Brook Trails. I would have been here 5-10 minutes earlier, and I had to wait a long time. But I am concerned, this, and coming here, there's a facility over there, they've got their parking lot roped off. It's not available for parking for overflow events like graduation or major school events. I think we should give some attention to that issue before we find that we're suffering in participation. I've got some ideas, but I'd like to talk to you about them and then maybe bring them back on the future agenda. Maybe not even, if it's not ready for next month, 2 months from now. But I would like to analyze the whole issue of being able to facilitate parking.
And let me just chime in a little bit on that. Okay? When that happened, you can't have parking and a bike path, obviously. You can't do both. They chose to make a bike path through town. And so because of that, in front of the high school, we can't park. When that happened, I did go over and take our fence back from the road. It was right on the road. I took it back to the transportation building wall.
Yes.
And we created, in conjunction, I met with the VFW folks, and we created about 15 new parking spots. That's actually more than we lost up front. To further the problem, one of the things I've talked to some of you guys about is our insurance company goes through and every year looks at our facilities and says, good, not good, need to repair, must repair. Well, this year they checked off the must repair on the high school parking lot. and the turnaround and the road that goes through. So I'm sitting here when we're talking about budgeting items going, where am I gonna get 500 grand to fix all the parking at the high school that's a disaster area? Because that's a major bombshell in a school budget. And so if you go to the high school parking lot, put your mouthpiece in, because it's pretty rough. If you drive to the back, it's pretty rough. This year, when they fixed the circle turnaround has 2 new aprons on it, I encouraged Granite to come and take that first speed bump out because that was a jawbreaker. And so we took that out, but the parking is an issue, but I've also already got approval from the city. When we have graduations, we have Ukiah here for football, those things, if I contact them ahead of time, they'll post it off and allow us to park. But that's not where we want to be. I think where we're going to end up, Chris, is when we talk about doing our parking lots, can we enhance our parking space that we have now? Because we clearly are going to be in the fixed mode there, unfortunately.
Okay. I'd just like to put a little attention on it. I'd like to talk to you about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Offline.
Anything further? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
This is a,
I'm not surprised. This is a high school still won't pay us after.
this is on the Stay Well insurance. Somebody just went to a meeting recently and got that.